welcome to the QTV News Desk. Top stories in the news. Lusaka Province Minister Bowman Lusambo has warned perpetual upcoming civil servants to adhere to the rules guiding the civil service by reporting early to work or face dismissal. Lusaka Magistrates Court has convicted Henry Kapofo, former Ministry of Health Human Resource Manager, Human Resource Officer, and 4 others for corruption, money laundering, and theft of over 6 million kwacha. President Kalungu has bemoaned the lack of accountability for public funds by the Football Association of Zambia. The news in detail. Lusaka Province Minister Bowman Lusambo has warned perpetual coming civil servants to adhere to the rules guiding the civil service by reporting early to work or face dismissal. He has charged that civil servants in the province to change their attitude of coming to work late and going home early, adding that the government viewed it as sabotage to the development of the country. Mr. Lusambo, who last month sent away 45 civil servants at the provincial administration for reporting late for work, made an impromptu visit to the Kafue District Administration Office, Kafue General Hospital, Kafue Civic Center, and Kafue District Education Board to check how civil servants are faring in observing time. He, however, expressed happiness that the era of coming to work late is over and will not be tolerated by his administration. Mr. Lusambo has further warned that all government officials and employees who do not observe prescribed office hours, while others fail to account for their attendance, will be dismissed without fail. He has called on Kafue District Commissioner Joseph Kamana to ensure that all officers and employees under his district strictly observe the prescribed office hours.
It's not, but this is yes, but it's just to encourage you that let us push as if you are working for your own company, okay? When you are working with these companies, especially companies which are government in nature, most of the time we see people with a laissez-faire type of attitude when coming for work, and even the efforts which you put in. So I just want to encourage you that let us work as if you are working for a private sector, okay? Yes, we are working for government, but you have an opportunity of a privilege to have this job. When you are working also, try to know that there's someone outside there who's looking for the same job with better qualification than us, okay? So we need to push, okay? We need to push and make sure that we concentrate on our work. We need productivity, and we can only achieve that if we have people who are committed. Okay, so let us commit ourselves with these jobs which we are doing, and we'll be monitoring you. And if we find that you are not putting in the percentages which we are expecting as government, we will fire you and we employ other people. Okay.
And Mr. Lusambo has instructed Kafue District Education Board Debs Clementina Msonda to ensure that all transferred teachers report to their new stations. Mr. Lusambo says he has received information that over 1,000 teachers in the district have refused to go to their new stations, a situation he describes as unfortunate. He says the transferring of teachers should not be considered as political.
I'm standing in for Debs.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to attend the meeting in Chongo FPO.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, who meet Chongo not pata meeting have it. One of accounts very Chongo.
Accounts, HR, and
it
was just a direct from PO.
PO?
Yes, that's what he told me.
At Chongwe?
Yes.
Nanaba tumina phone.
So
kama ishibati twaliamba kusunga endalama isha government inoba DC. Nokutulesumisha abantu kya kuchonga. Tabafole?
On that one side.
But this tume phone, tumone no allowances. Ndabachikwata meeting mu Lusaka. Office yandine yalikwata conference room ikulu sana. Ikulu sana. Okay? So when you are transferred, doesn't mean that people hate you, maybe they don't want you. No, they just want you to go and work even extra hard. Okay. Sometimes you can be a teacher at Navoy. Maybe the good service which you can make it's in Chongwe or Kafi or Chilundo. Okay. So make sure that you talk to these officers and tell them that transfers are inevitable and we should not be diffusing the transfers. And we have teachers here who have stayed for 10 years, 15 years. Ninchitoya nyoko. These welfares are not personal to order. We don't have title deeds in these offices. Okay? We can be transferred at any given time. Okay? So let us make sure that we help government. And also time of reporting, make sure that you go through your schools, talk to the headmasters, your head teachers, even your learners. Yeah, talk to them as well and tell them, in fact, you have a very critical duty, okay? Because the bad behavior which we are seeing in these offices, it is starting from the schools.
2 persons in Eastern Province have been arrested and charged with trafficking various quantities of cocaine in 6 sachets. Drug Enforcement Commission has identified the two as Fanny Zulu, 25, a businesswoman and proprietor of Chillax Pub, jointly charged with Helen Vola, 65, both of house number 67 Hollywood Compound in Chipata District. Commission Public Relations Officer Teresa Katongo says through its anti-money laundering investigation unit in Chipata has further charged one of the suspects, Fanny Zulu, for money laundering and being in possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime. Contrary to the laws of Zambia, various items have since been seized from the suspect. Meanwhile, Ms. Katongo says the commission in Lusaka has arrested Joseph Chizala, 37, a businessman of Marapodi Compound, for trafficking in 96 sachets of heroin. He was arrested in Material Township during an operation conducted in the area. And the commission in Central Province has arrested Tenepas Mwetwa, a small-scale farmer of Chinkubi village in Liteta area, of trafficking in 4x50 kilogram bags and 8 sachets of loose cannabis, weighing a total of 207 kilograms. The suspects are currently in police custody and will appear in court soon. Housing and Infrastructure Development Minister Ronald Stotela has challenged financial institutions to partner with government in developing the country's infrastructure. Mr. Stotela says government has embarked on infrastructure projects countrywide and needs support from financial institutions. Speaking at his office in Lusaka when Stanbic Zambia Chief Executive Officer Lena Gabarin paid a courtesy call on him, Mr. Stotela says Zambia is like a construction site and financial institution like Stanbic should take advantage of the prevailing situation and support government because construction is a business. He has added that banks cannot go wrong by investing in the construction industry in view of many infrastructure projects which government is undertaking in the country. Mr. Chitotela says Zambia is now a role model in the region in terms of infrastructure development. Thus, the need for the financial sector to partner with government and sustain this infrastructure agenda.
Zambia as a construction industry, we are only a lot of people, we receive a lot of delegations who come to the how Zambia succeeding in terms of the infrastructure development. We are being referred to as a model, as a best example in the region. Therefore, it calls for also equal support from the financial sector to making sure that our people manages the business. The construction is a business, and we must manage it just like that, as you said. We will not have meaningful development anywhere in the world without infrastructure. That's why when people try to politic, at times I laugh and say, even those that have done the history in economics, they will tell us that the Western countries, they are where they are today because there's a time in life that they deliberately chose to invest in infrastructure. America did the same. Today, the president of America going forward is preaching a huge budget support for infrastructure development because that is the only way we can grow the economy. Because infrastructure is a precase. You can't talk about banking without infrastructure because you can't stand under the tree and conduct banking. So you need the support of infrastructure. Then once we put infrastructure, it is going to attract direct foreign investment, even growth in the economy. There will be a lot of activity. So that is why PF, under the leadership of President Lungu and his predecessor Michael Sat, resolved that for us to see that which we desire for our people, we need to deliberately create sustainable economic growth in Zambia, and we can only have sustainable growth in terms of economic activities once we invest heavily in infrastructure development. Zambia.
And Ministry of Housing and Infrastructure Development Permanent Secretary Engineer Charles Mushota says financial institutions need to understand how construction sector operates. Engineer Mushota says most construction companies are not benefiting from loans provided by banks because the conditions attached to them which do not favor them.
Hence, still we see from this side that contractors haven't fully benefited from what we have packaged for them. In that, there is a bit of misunderstanding or not clear understanding that the way construction is done, if the project is say 18 months, in the first months, the contractor needs a lot of cash flow, and that should be provided for. But you find that most of the banks, what they do is, in the initial stages, they want to hold on to most of the cash which is given to the contractor. And in the process, the contractors face a lot of challenges because they don't have sufficient cash flow to do production. And most of the contracts either they slow down or they totally fail to perform because they don't have adequate cash flow, especially where the contractors are not being paid by the government on time. Mind you, the projects or contracts do provide that maybe they can be paid within 28 days or 56 days. And if the government, say, pays after 40 days, after 50 days, and the bank is not able to provide, that intervention in terms of cash flow, then the contractor fails to perform.
In Stanbic, Chief Executive Officer Lena Gabarin, who was accompanied by his Head of Investment Chungu Kaunda and Public Relations Manager Chanda Katongo, has reaffirmed his bank's commitment to fully support government's infrastructure agenda. He says there is need for the private sector, such as his bank, to support what government is doing by entering into private-public partnerships in the construction sector.
And we need, as a private sector in Zambia, to stand up and say, no, what you are reading is not necessarily true. Zambia is a construction field today. There's construction sites everywhere, which means there's activity. And that activity needs to be nourished. We need to nurture it to make sure it grows. And we say so because a lot of people or private investors who come into Zambia come in to talk to us, to try and understand what our view of the country is. And we stand by the economy and say we're pro-Zambia. And the statement, Minister, is not just a statement that we make. We demonstrate it. We demonstrate it through our CSI programs. We've got quite a number of programs. Some of those programs are also infrastructure in nature, because we also realize that this government can't do it on their own. We also demonstrate it by extending credit, not just to the wider economy, but to government as well. We've got quite a number of lines that we've extended to government. We actually are talking to one of your SOEs, I think you may be aware of it, on a facility. So we don't just say we're pro-Zambia, there's quite a lot that we're doing about it. I've given probably a mouthful, Minister, that hopefully we will be able to start having a conversation on, but it's just to once again reaffirm our support to your ministry. And
the Lusaka Magistrates Court has convicted Henry Kapoko, former Ministry of Health Chief Human Resource Officer, and 4 others for corruption, money laundering, and theft of over 6 million kwacha. Public Relations Manager Timothy Mono has revealed that Principal Resident Magistrate ex Norbert Zulu has convicted Kapoko and 9 other officials from the Ministry of Health who were jointly charged by the Anti-Corruption Commission on 67 counts following investigations conducted and were found with a case to answer on 66 counts by the Magistrates Court. Others convicted are Zukas Kauma, Evaristo Msaba, Vincent Luhana, and Jasper Piri. Principal Resident Magistrate Zulu has, however, acquitted Roy Masweyeho, Luke Makechi, Crispin Sichoni, Norbert Peletti, and Esau Banda. Sentence of convicts is expected to be delivered after hearing the mitigation. Mr. Kapoko and his co-accused were jointly charged with 67 counts of corruption, theft, and money laundering. The charges include 20 counts of theft and theft by public servant involving over 6.8 million kwacha, 46 counts of money laundering involving 24 motor vehicles, 3 houses, 2 lodges, 1 filling station, 5 bank accounts, and the purchasing of building materials. They were also charged with 1 count of failing to account for being in possession of property suspected to have been stolen or unlawfully obtained. Mr. Kapoko was arrested by the Anti-Corruption Commission in 2009 following the unearthing of a scam involving corruption, theft, and money laundering at the Ministry of Health. President Edgar Lungu has bemoaned lack of accountability for public funds by the Football Association of Zambia, and President Lungu has urged the Football Association of Zambia to start delivering positive results during matches as Zambians love soccer. President Lungu said this at State House when Vice President Andrew Kamanga presented the new national soccer team jersey. And President Lungu stated that people and entities would want to help the Football Association of Zambia with funds, but the lack of accountability and prudent use of funds hinders them from helping or making any contributions. President Lungu has also advised FAS to put their request for land in writing and present it to the Commissioner of Lands. The head of state also urged FAS to do all it can to ensure that Zambia qualifies to the AFCON, giving the association his full support towards the game of football in the country. And Vice President Andrew Kamanga has requested for President Lungu to help in availing land for association to build new offices and set up grounds, as the land which was earlier given to them has been encroached. Meanwhile, Kamanga has explained that the newly launched national playing kits, which are in copper, green, and white, will be sold at 250 kwacha, and the funds will be used to assist fans in conducting various sporting activities.
Another matter that we thought we could bring to your attention, we do have a technical center just near the Heroes Stadium. We were given a piece of land where we built the technical center, but unfortunately there's been a lot of encroachment. So we are not able to even have our 2 football pitches. So we are asking if we could be assisted with land where we can.
Given land, develop, was encroached upon.
That was in 2012.
Doesn't matter. This is the problem. We see these things going wrong. Encroachments come, you say, no, I can't destroy now because we're going for votes. Next you find the 10 houses. You want to destroy Cotton Junction and so on. In the end, let's preempt these things. Let's preempt these things. We're sleeping with our rights. We've been given land, develop it quickly so that it's fence it and so on. So now we want me to do what?
In fact, where we are now, we've been dwarfed by the new developments. So we really need to move our headquarters from where we are, because the new developments, I think buildings that have come up, they make our buildings so small. Yes. It's not, so we would want to move to a place where we have the headquarters and the training pitches for all the national teams. That is why we've also requested, we are trying to organize a fundraiser where we can raise a bit of money, and we'll need support from both the public and private sector to be able to help us in that regard. So
accountability, that's not a problem. You know, I can tell you people are willing to help normal causes like this, but I've discovered that lack of accountability has made it difficult for people to contribute. I can not cite an example for my frustrations, but I'll leave it at that.
Human rights lawyer Mona Mapani has called on the government through the Ministry of Justice to expedite the legal review of reform process in a bid to promote good governance in the country. Mr. Mapani says there are some pieces of legislation that seem to be an hindrance to the promotion of good governance and human rights in the country. He has told Q News in an interview that if the government managed to review some laws such as the Public Order Act, the nation could have seen improved promotion of good governance and human rights. Mr. Mapani is of the view that the government lacks a seriousness in reviewing controversial laws such as the Public Order Act, as several stakeholders have made several submissions towards these laws.
The Public Order Act, we all agree that it's a colonial law or kind of act that was purely enacted in other ways to suppress the Zambians, not to go ahead with the planned meetings purely because they wanted to block them from going ahead to seek for their independence, political independence. And now that we have really attained 50 years and above, we want to see a change in the manner we apply this Public Order Act. From the time the Patriotic Front came into power, then the Minister of Home Affairs, Davis Mwela, requested the concerned citizens, political parties, and the civil societies to make submissions towards the repealing of the Public Order Act. And that was done. Whilst this man was still the Minister of Home Affairs, he himself refused to respect the Public Order Act. And the kind of violence, the attitude of the executive through the police was still the same. And when Honorable Lubinda came in as the Minister of Justice, he asked the concerned parties, individuals, political parties, and civil societies to as well again submit their concern towards the Public Order Act. To date, we haven't seen anything. And just to help government do the correct thing, there is no need whatsoever of going about these submissions.
The Zambia Council for Social Development, ZTSD, has observed that the non-compliance to paying practicing license fees by more than 90% of the registered teachers to Teaching Council of Zambia, TCZ, is a clear indication of challenges that the working poor in the country, like teachers, are going through. Organization Executive Director Lewis Mwape says TCZ needs to appreciate that the basic needs food basket in the country is currently above 5,000 kwacha, and many teachers, both from private and public sector, fall below the food basket average. Mr. Mwape feels that it is close to impossible to believe that teachers will find it easy to comply to this law. He is worried that if the 90% of those teachers who have not paid the practicing license fees stand together and decide not to comply with unfair conditional practicing charge and ignore the threat from TCZ, the Ministry of Education would be brought to its knees, and it would be an ordinary Zambian child that will be adversely affected. Mr. Mwape has noted that the law also falls short of incentives that would be provided to teachers apart from the practicing certificate A4 or A5 Manila paper that would be given to a poor teacher, while the rest of the resources would be applied in the manner that would not directly benefit the teacher who sacrifices the hand-earned income. He has, however, called on the TCZ to consider revising the practicing license fees across bands to levels that would not be stressful to teachers whose pay slips are already burdened with other personal and family commitments.
And if you look at the total amount, you find that it falls far below even the basic food basket, meaning that most of the money is supposed to be spent on the basic needs, which is the basic food basket, which fall below the amount that they are supposed to spend on other extra things that are beyond basic food basket. It is also important to understand and appreciate that when the laws are becoming difficult for people that are supposed to obey them, it is important that the institutions that are responsible go out and review them to give power to those that are affected. In the current status, we find that money are collected even from the toll fees, but doesn't benefit those that contribute to the road fund. Just a meter from the toll gate, you find that there is a pothole. So it is that kind of responsibility that we want to see in the state institutions, in the regulatory authorities, in these authorities that are supposed to regulate certain ethics, so that once the monies are collected, they must also articulate how that would benefit the teacher that will just pay, rather than just being incentivized with a manila paper, a mayor certificate. So it is important that we see the Teaching Council of Zambia beginning to be real in terms of the unconditional or conditional teaching professional. And if you look at
Agriculture and Commercial Show Society President Caroline Silwimba has disclosed that this year's show has attracted 1,123 exhibitors. Mrs. Silwimba says during a media briefing in Lusaka that from these 1,000 are local exhibitors, while 123 international exhibitors coming from 20 different countries. She further states that the show will also see the participation of 10 schools, with each province being represented. The 92nd Agriculture and Commercial Show will be held from the 1st to the 6th of August 2018 under the theme Sustainable Economic Empowerment. The Agriculture and Commercial Show is Zambia's most prestigious show that has a renowned networking custom for any members of our community and the countries across the globe. The show provides a unique and seasonal trading marketplace that attracts various economic players and several countries from around the world. And President Edgar Lungu is expected to grace the official opening of the event on Saturday this week. Development activist Canisius Banda has observed the need for Zambians to protect their national heritage. Dr. Banda is urging people in the country not to sell their country to foreigners that are coming in Zambia to do business. In an interview with QTV News, Dr. Banda, who is also former UPND Vice President for Politics, says that if any foreigners come in Zambia to do business, they must do it according to the country's law. Dr. Banda states that Zambia must remain in the hands of the Zambian people, despite of any foreign investment that are brought in their country. He says as far as he is concerned, Zambia is in fact a rich country, as evidenced by his observation of how other developed countries are scrambling for it.
Dziko ni latu tonse situla iwe naine dziko lino ni latu tisakulitse dziko lino kwa anthalubwera these people coming from their countries, to do business here. Let them do business in accordance with our laws, but the country must remain in our hands. It must be ours. We may be poor today, but that's a lie. We're not poor, we're very rich. Zambia is richer, potentially richer than the United Kingdom, and they know that. That's why they call this place paradise. They're scrambling for us for it again. So let's be aware, and the message, Sichula, is that unity must reign, peace must reign, freedom must reign. Let there be no violence.
Inadequate gender-responsive budgeting, GRB, has been linked to the high prevalence of HIV/AIDS infections among female adolescents in Zambia. Southern African HIV and AIDS Information Dissemination Center, SAFAIDS, has observed that the country has also a huge number of adolescents falling out of school due to pregnancy. Program coordinator Gaston Zulu says his organization thinks that 14,000 recorded per year of adolescents falling out of school due to pregnancy is a huge number to have. Mr. Zulu says SAFE's concern is particularly that when such a huge number of adolescent girls fall out of school, it is not the same number that goes back to school. He states that his organization is therefore proposing that government relooks at the school re-entry policy and addresses its gaps, as it is not fulfilling entirely what it was formulated for. Mr. Zulu says SAFE has further proposed that in the 2019 national budget, that government increases allocations towards adolescent health. He says his organization wants the government to increase the allocation from last year's less than 1% to at least 2%. And Mr. Zulu was responding to a question after he made a presentation on gender responsive budgeting during the 4 days ongoing ActionAid media workshop on investigative journalism in Lusaka.
So in the 2019 budget, we've proposed an increase because in the allocation towards adolescent health in the last budget was actually less than 1%. I mean 0 point something. And we've advocated to say if that budget can be pushed to about 2%, then we're going to see an improvement in the health issues that have characterized the adolescents. So yes, we have done so much. Overall, like we've seen the prevalence rate coming down. We've seen, I think, different partners coming into the picture, but I don't think we have been very much gender responsive. And that means we really need to still do so much work to ensure that that picture changes. So until when we see the change between the boys, girls, men and women in terms of health issues, we have a long way to go. So in the
The Zambia Revenue Authority, ZRA, has appointed Sherwood Green as agents for collection of tax on rental income for commercial and domestic properties in Lusaka and Copperbelt. The appointment of Sherwood Green Proprietary Properties Limited as tax agents come after the Minister of Finance, Margaret Monakatwe, on the 15th of June 2018 signed into law the statutory instrument number 48 of 2018 for the appointment of tax collection agents. This follows the amendment of the Income Tax Act, Cap 323 of the laws of Zambia, to allow the Commissioner General to appoint tax agents to collect base tax, presumptive tax, turnover tax, and tax on rental income. ZRA Communications Manager Topsis Kalinda has explained that tax payments will be made directly to ZRA, while Sherwood Green, together with ZRA, will conduct door-to-door inspections in Lusaka and the Copperbelt in order to collect proof of payments for withholding tax on rent due to ZRA. Mr. Skalinda further explains that recently Zambia National Marketeers Credit Association, Zanamaka, was also appointed as a tax agent for base tax. He is hopeful that the new initiatives will broaden the tax base, create employment opportunities, lower the cost of tax collection and compliance. He has stated that the Zambia Revenue Authority will soon issue another advertisement to invite eligible entities to apply to be tax agents so that there are more entities participating.
The Zambia Revenue Authority has appointed Sherwood Green as agents for collection of tax on rental income for commercial and domestic properties in Lusaka and the Copperbelt. The appointment of Sherwood Green Properties Limited as tax agent comes after the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Margaret Manakatwe, on 15th of June signed into law statutory instrument number 48 of 2018 for the appointment of tax collection agencies.
As we end the news, a recap of the stories making headlines. Lusaka Province Minister Bowman Lusambo has warned the people with coming civil servants to adhere to rules guiding the civil service by reporting early to work or face dismissal. The Lusaka Magistrate Court has convicted Henry Kapoko, former Ministry of Health Chief Human Resources Officer, and 4 others for corruption, money laundering, and theft of over 6 million kwacha. And President Kalingu has denounced lack of accountability for public funds by the Football Association of Zambia. That's all we had in the news of present hearing.